Good morning, everybody. How are you today? So, last lesson we learned about types of rocks and rock cycle. And when we learned about rocks, we said there are three different types of rocks, like igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, and metamorphic rocks. And we said igneous comes from lava. When lava cooled, it makes igneous rocks. Then sedimentary rock, and here the most important idea. We said sedimentary rocks after weathering and erosion. Sedimentary rocks after weathering and erosion, they and we said weathering means when the rock is broken down into small pieces, okay? And erosion when these pieces move by wind or water into a new place. Then over time they cement together to make layers, and this rock we call it sedimentary. And in sedimentary rocks we can find fossils. We said that last period. But what are fossils? What are fossils? We know fossils are what? Fossils are the remains or the traces of living things. So the traces of living things we call it fossils. Like how we learned or how we discovered dinosaurs or ancient living things that had lived in that period of time because of fossils. And here we have many different types of fossils. But before, you have to know, fossil can be made of an organism's hard part. So fossils can be made by organisms hard parts like what? Like bones, like teeth, or shells. Or fossils can be made by soft parts. And soft parts means what? Tissues. The tissues like the skin, like this. Okay, so fossils are the traces of living things, and these fossils can be made of an organism's hard part like bones, teeth, and shells, or by soft parts like tissues. But most of fossils here by hard parts because of bones and teeth and shells. But soft parts like what? If you wanna put thing and this thing will not be decomposed, you have to put this thing in freezer, okay? So frozen dead living things, okay? Maybe we can find the tissues of soft parts, or the baby inside the mother's body. Maybe we can find a fossil of soft part here. So some animals, like here, see, here we have three different types of fossils. The first one here, this is the soft fossil of soft parts. So maybe we can find this fossil inside ice. So because of ice, tissues stayed conserved. The second one of hard part, and the last one by the hard parts. But why we have two different types here? Now I'll explain it. Okay? So fossils fossils can Yes, like this. Okay. Fossils can be made up of hard parts of organisms or soft parts of organisms. Hard part like only the bones, like the fossil of this fish, or by soft parts like what? Like the skin. Now, so soft parts are conserved because of ice. Because of ice. Now, minerals like quartz. When we learned about minerals, we learned about quartz. And when we learned about rocks, we learned about quartz. Okay? And quartz can make fossils by replacing the shell of plant material that made up of the organism. So, minerals like what? Like quartz. Okay? Can form fossils. How can make fossils? By replacing the shell, the shell, this is, or the plant's material okay, these materials that made up of the organisms, that made up the organism. Example about this: petrified wood. Petrified wood. What is a petrified wood? This wood like rocks, okay? This wood, not like natural wood, this is like rocks. So petrified wood as an example, like this wood or the tissues or the material of plant, it looks like rock, or it changed to be like rock. Okay, so this is the first type, petrified wood, like quartz. Okay, the second one, you have to differentiate between mold and cast. Mold fossil and cast. Mold and cast. Mold means, for example, if anything, like they said in your book, like a leaf of plant, and this leaf where is covered where? In the mud. So this hole, it will make like a print, okay? This print, we call it what? Mold. When this print is filled with mud again, we call it cast. Then it will be hard or solid, like this. For example, if we have mud here, okay, and a leaf is come here and make like a hole, like this, okay? So if I put my hand like this, okay, so this is the mold. If my hand here, the hole here, is filled with mud, then this area here, it will be hardened, okay? This is the cast. So this the mold, and inside it the cast. Okay, like if you want to make some cookies, okay, they'll bring what? They'll bring like mold, for example, shape. They'll make this shape, they'll put inside it I think wood or anything else, okay? Then this it will be removed outside to take the shape of this type of cookies. Okay, so the mold means like this, and this is the mud, for example. And if it filled with mud, so the mud here, we can replace it like this, so it will take the shape of it. So mold means like the hole, and the cast when the mold is filled with mud. Cast means when mold is filled with mud, okay, that hardens. Okay, here the cast, and this the mold. Okay, so till now you have to know fossils are the remains or the traces of living things that live in that period of time. Then we have many different types, and fossils can be formed by hard parts and soft parts. Most fossils are made up of hard parts like bones, teeth, and shells. Soft parts like frozen dead living things, or because of drought of babies inside the mother's bodies. Okay, then we continued with petrified wood. Petrified wood, we said, when minerals like quartz form fossils. How it forms fossils? By replacing the plant material or the shell that made up of the organisms. Like petrified wood is an example about it. Then mold and cast, and we said mold when an element or anything else like leaf in mud is copied in mud, this is the mold. And if this mold is filled with mud that hardens again, this is what we call it cast. Okay, then what is a carbon films? Carbon films, we know, and later you have to, when you learn about chemistry, you have to study about organic chemistry. But now you have to know all living things are made up of carbon. So all living things are made up of carbon and other elements, but carbon. Okay, some animals or some plants, this with plants greater than animals, when some plants tissues get conserved as a carbon film inside rock. Okay, again, carbon films means what? Carbon film means when this plant tissue is preserved like a carbon inside a rock, like this, for example. So this is what we call it, carbon film. So this is a type of fossils also. Another example about fossils, footprint. Footprint is an example about different type or another type of fossils. These footprints are example about what? Fossils. that showed these animals was or were there. So sometimes we can find or we can identify the type of animals that live in this zone or in this area on earth or in this ecosystem. So we said, for example, mammoth live here and it didn't live here. Why? Because of fossils and footprints. Okay, and other examples about plants. Okay, so till now you have to know about these types of fossils. You have to know the fossil is the traces or the remains of dead organisms or the traces of living things. Then these fossils can be made by soft parts and hard parts, most of them hard parts like teeth, bones and shells. Okay, minerals like quartz, okay, can make fossils. How? By replacing the shell or the plant material. Okay, example, petrified wood. Then you have to distinguish between mold and cast. Carbon film when the remains or the plant tissues preserved as a carbon film inside rock. Then footprints, another example about fossils. Okay, so by using these types of fossils, scientists study these types of fossils to learn about the ancient organisms on earth. Okay, so till here you have to know till the different types of fossils. I hope all of them are clear. Have a nice day and see you next video inshallah.